Freddy Krueger hands, bitch. Hey guys, it's Erica with Night Rapid EDC. What is wrong with me? How's it going? I just wanted to do something silly today. Let me close these all up before I stab myself or cut a finger off. How's it going? How's everybody doing? Ooh, that one doesn't want to flip. Okay. Hi guys. Today we're going to talk about something fun. We're going to talk about blade geometry and blade shapes that I like for me, for my work EDC knives. But first, what have we been carrying today? Well, I've been hiking all day, literally all day, so the BGM mini Kephart here, that's what went with me on all my hikes today. But now we're home and hanging out, so now it's the 940. Woohoo! I love this thing. Okay, let's talk about blade shapes a little bit. So, work EDC knives, for me, as in the knives that I carry at work every day, what kind of blade shapes do I like? What do I think works best? Well, I'm going to show you. I have 6 knives here I'm going to show, and we're going to talk a little bit about why I like them and my philosophy of use a little bit, okay? So we'll start with the 940 because we already have it out. So, the 940, I believe most people call this a reverse Tanto here. So, I enjoy this blade shape because this is the type of blade shape that should allow you to do almost anything you encounter aside from cutting and slicing. So, I did put up a video yesterday showing that you can do the whole paint can thing with that tip, and we all knew that, but I just wanted to, double check. This is a really great utility knife. So you got a nice long, that is a really long cutting surface there. And a good tip, and it's stout. And I enjoy that the tip of the blade is in line with kind of the center of the knife. You guys know that I love that on knives. It just makes everything a little easier on yourself if you use your knives for things other than slicing and cutting, which I do. My knives are also scrapers, they're also pry bars, they're also little drillers, they're also, I just do a lot with my knives that is aside from cutting. So I like them to be able to do multiple things that I throw at them. And this is a great blade shape for all types of tasks. That reinforced tip is really good. And granted, this is the knife I'm testing right now, but I have used it in the past a lot. And this is just fantastic for anything that you throw at it. Let's talk about the sheep's foot. So this is a great one, and this is a really nice one because it's actually one of the most slicey shapes that I'm going to show. So you guys know I'm not a fan of slicey blades. I just don't need one that's slicey. I use my knives for things other than slicing most of the time, which sounds silly, but it's true. I'm not slicing a lot of stuff in my day. I'm cutting things that I don't need that precise of a cut, and I'm doing a lot of scraping and material removal that doesn't have to be so crisp and clean. And this is a great shape because this is a little slicey for my liking, but it's stout. It's again, that tip is fairly centered, not completely, but it does have a nice fine tip, and you can do some drilling with that. You can. It's not ideal, but you can. For sure. So I really enjoy this. Also, all of these are ease of sharpening as well for me, so that's a huge thing. I don't want to spend a lot of time sharpening my knives. I enjoy it, but I don't want to spend a lot of time. So all of these will be fairly easy to sharpen, except for one, which you'll see. And yeah, this is a very easy to sharpen blade shape right here. And that deployment hole is awesome. I am taking into consideration deployment here too. So everything about the sheep's foot with that little spidey hole right there, awesome. This is kind of the same as this. So we'll do them together here. Kind of the drop point, spear point type blade shape here. I really enjoy this because this to me is like the ideal blade shape. So when you have that completely centerline tip, a really nice working edge here that doesn't have any fancy stuff to it. I enjoy when the knives have a good like 2 inches of straight edge to work with. That's awesome. And this is one of those knives where you hold it and man, look at my muscles. Now look, straight, pretty much straight. We're going straight. That is awesome. That is awesome when you're using your knife as something other than a knife and you're using it to drill or something, when you can just have everything flow. Like if I'm drilling into wood right here, I do not have to manipulate the way that I hold this. It just is natural because it all flows straight, okay? So this one is that's a very thick blade stock to work with. I personally love it, but if you need something a little more slicey, bug out. This is about the same. Look, tip, center line, really slicey blade here. Really slicey compared to the Mini A100. That is a fine working edge, but still capable. Still super capable of doing things other than slicing and cutting. Scraping for sure. You can absolutely, I'm sure you could drill with this tip, not intensely, but if you had to use that tip for something, it's decent. Don't go crazy. Don't quote me on it. But these types of blades that have a little bit of a belly, but mostly straight cutting edge there, a nice tip, center line with everything, that's awesome when you're using your knife as something other than a knife. Which I also don't recommend. Like if you break your knife, do not blame me. Because if I break my knife, I'm not blaming me either. Clip point. So kind of that like Bowie shape. The lighting is terrible. Sorry, guys. I really enjoy this blade shape, and I actually wish that I had more of these kind of like Bowie shaped knives in my folding collection because I really do like them. That, although this kind of comes up and then goes down and then comes up again, the tip isn't so extravagant that you're manipulating your position to accommodate the knife, okay? So the tip really, if you look closely, is pretty centerline. Although it looks like the knife is coming up to this hump and then coming down and then kind of coming back up, it really actually isn't too far off. So this is a really nice tip for doing some work. If you need a knife as a utility knife with a good piercing tip on it, look at that, man. That's perfect. That's perfect right here. I love that blade shape for a utility knife. I love that. And it's kind of got that old school classic look to it too, right? Kind of reminds you of like Grandpa's knife, for sure. So I really like that. I love that little clip right there. And I like the swedge, how it's a little reinforced. Let's see if we can pick that up at all. We've got some angles, and it all comes to a nice point at the end. Really nice for a utility knife. This is the one that is the most difficult to sharpen if you're inexperienced. Tantos. So I have a good relationship with Tantos. I'm an experienced sharpener, so the double edge doesn't bother me. I think the main thing that you have to remember when you start sharpening these is you have to realize that this is a blade and this is a blade. You cannot view them as one whole blade because then you will start to flow into this, and that's when you're going to lose that tip right there and you're not going to have a Tanto anymore. You have to think that this is an edge that needs to be processed on its own, as is this edge on its own. They're very different. So you really ideally have a straight razor right here, which is freaking awesome to do all kinds of stuff with, the majority of your big hefty work. And then you really have a choice whether you want to use that Tanto as a scraper, a full-time scraper, or maybe you want to do your precision work with that tip. It's up to you, because it can do both. It can do it whatever. And you can kind of just decide if you want to trash that edge right there and use it as a scraper and a pry bar and a piercer, if you want to do that, or keep it super fine and super sharp, almost like a secondary blade on a small, traditional pocket knife. You know, you've got your main blade that you beat up, but then you always have that pen blade sharp and ready. This is kind of the same idea. You've got that straight edge for most of your main work, and then you could, if you wanted, keep that Tanto tip ready to go for precise, very, very precise work right there. I tend to have 2 Tantos in my collection. One that I keep the edge sharp on, and one that I beat up. I used to have an Emerson Mini CQC7, and this portion of the blade on that knife I beat to shit, and I used it as a scraper, and I didn't even bother fixing the edge because I didn't need to. I used it as a scraper. But on this one, so far, my goal is to keep this portion of the edge sharp and not dinged up and ready for precise work in case I need it. But this is an awesome, awesome utility blade. I mean, it really actually is. It's awesome. And can I say awesome enough? Again, tip right here, very, very much in line with the rest of the knife in the center. So awesome blade shape for hard use, and it is reinforced throughout. All types of cool grind lines there, just reinforcing the whole geometry of that blade. That's a really cool one. So I think that's all the blade shapes that I like the most. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of the thin, slicey knives. The Spyderco shape, that leaf blade, really not a fan of that for myself because I've just had trouble with them not being rigid enough for me. They're just too thin, too slicey, and I have damaged most of the ones that I've used. So the blade shapes that I just showed are ones that I've tried and I have used for things other than cutting, and they do amazing. So that's the collection. Those are the blade shapes that I love. I hope you guys are having an awesome weekend, and if you're not, you could always just go out to your yard with your knife and use your fucking shit and feel much better. Have a great day, guys.